break down the problem first. First thing first is that what I requested was to get my main issue was to ask was that get the latest invoice number for each customer. So let's have a look at that. And this is for everyone in the class who is listening. Now look at this. I have customer number 125. He has two invoices. One is on November 15th and the other one is on November 18th, right? So I need this one for this customer. I don't want this old one. Look at customer number 616. It is probably my customer that I added at some, or this is my invoice that I added in the at some point ago because I was playing with the data and I add some more garbage data as I need. But look at this guy, 435. He has two invoices as well. And this one is again. So this guy has two invoices. Both are actually on 18. So regardless, I want one of them, right? I don't know how it will sort this one out because this one has the invoice number on the same date. If I would have it one day earlier or one day after, then I will not be confused, but at the moment I'm confused. But let's see. And then 616, this guy, this is a clear distinction. He has 616. 616 has 4237, 14237 and 14238. One on November 15th and one on May 9th this year. So this is the latest that he did. So at least for the two cases I know, for 125 I need the one on 18th. For this guy, I would need one of them. Which one will come, I don't care. And for this guy, 616, I need 616 on top, and I don't want this one. This is what I want. The other thing is I want their first name and last name. So the first name and last name comes later. We'll worry about that in a moment. First thing we want was to get the latest invoice. This is another solution which I just commented for now. But have a look at this. What I did is that, or Evaldo has done, is that we have broken down the problem. Let's see if we want to run and we want to get the latest invoice. So this is how we are getting the latest invoice. What we are going to do, everything else is the same, but don't worry about the C columns right now. Just look at I columns for now. When we are looking at the table I, we want to understand this line, what is happening. For each customer, if customer has more than one row, keep counting. So if the customer has one row, second row, third row, fourth row, fifth row, in this case we have only two rows for a customer number, let's say 125. So it will count 1 and 2. For the customer number 182, it won't be able to count many rows because it has only one or two rows. Because it has only one instance or one invoice number. So it will number it as only one. So if it finds duplicates, it will start to number them for each customer. So the distinction will be that if there are duplicates, keep giving them a new number. Otherwise, if you encounter a new customer ID, restart from 1 again. So for 1 to 5, it will say 1 and 2. And while you are figuring this out, can you do one more thing? That's sort it by the invoice date in descending order. So it will give me the descending order while it is figuring out the rows. Also sort them by descending order. So if I'll temporarily comment everything out for this guy C, I'm commenting out everything related to C so I can show you that. And I'll put that in the next row. I'll put that here. Let's do this. Let's run this invoice. Let's run this inner query. We'll come to the outer query. We'll come to the outer common table expression in a moment. So if I'll run this now, there is one more. If I'll say i.cust, that should work. So let's look at this. I can't see the customer number, but let's see for the guy who has 2 invoices. I can tell you there were 3 people or 3 guys who has 2 invoices. So this could be potentially 1 to 5, number 1, 1 to 5, number 2. Then this could be this, I don't know, 435 and 435 number 2, 616, 616 number 2, right? We have that. While we are doing this, we have actually sorted that out by the invoice number. So number 1 will have the latest invoice date. Number 2 will have the second latest. Number 3 will have the third latest invoice date. But I'm not worried about that at all because I will ignore that at all. But I'm able to number my enemies out. All that's what I wanted to do. So I have numbered them out. Now this join is an extra. This is an extra thing that I added, extra burden that I added, that go back to the customer table and get the first name and last name. So for that, he added a join and added the first name, last name, and the email, which is okay. So for that, he has created a join with which table? Customer table, and he named it as a C. But as I commented out, I'm thoroughly playing here in this query everything with the invoice table I. I'm not doing, I commented out everything that is related to C because I didn't want to interrupt myself first with the first name and the last name. So I commented that out. Only I part is working. Once that is done, I am able to join it based on the customer ID with this invoice number and i.customer ID, which I'm not showing anyways. But if I want to, I can show that as well. What is that? If I want to show it, I will see the customer ID number as well. So let's say i.cust_ID. I can show you that and then put a comma. So now if I'll run this, it will be a little bit more clear that what is happening inside this. So I can see the customer ID. Okay, here you go. This is the customer ID 1 to 5, his 2 invoices sorted by date. Customer number 435, his 2 invoices sorted by date. Okay, it was confused which one to give which number because it is both occurred on 18. So it is his choice or SQL Server's choice. But look at this one. This is again sorted by this. So duplicates in the partition by, how you want to sort it is here, and DESC is identifying that how you want to sort it in descending order. Correct? Now I want to add the name part. So let's see, I want to see the name part. This goes here, this goes here. I can keep this or I can comment this out for now. I'm just opening up everything that was related to the customer. So it is open now. So now it is back open. And now if I want to see the first name and last name, and I wanted them to be joined like this, that's what I was mentioning. And it is joined now with the space. So when I run this, I am having the name, the email address, the invoice number, the invoice date, and all that. The last part that I can do is that I wrapped this, everything that it has done, I wrapped it in a black box. So this query is now a black box for me. I don't want to worry about it. It's done. Now with common table expression, I need to type it like this, with common table expression name as bracket open, and the bracket is getting closed here. So it becomes a whole as a black box. What is happening inside it? I already has the result of it, and I can call that result with this name called last invoice. Similar to that, I could have done it in the I could have done it in the drive table, but I'm not doing it in a drive table. I'm just doing it as it is. Last thing I wanted to see, what do you want it to see? So as soon as I come out of the common table expression, it says what is the query you want to run on me, because common table is created for a purpose. The purpose is this one, this whole black box. What do you want me to show you from that black box or that common table expression? I wanted to see all what you have in the common table expression and those rows which has the row number 1, and that's what it is showing me. So it will omit this row, it will omit this row, it will omit this row, and then it will just show me the one with the number 1, and then it is showing me that result. So now if I run this query, this is being done like this. So if I run this query, it is showing me that. So this is what I thought about it. There are some other ways to think about it. Usually, I don't know, but my brain is wrapped with this one. But if you look at this one, this is also a very simple query that is made by Dean. This query was courtesy Evaldo. That's a good work, Evaldo, as well. You followed my footprints. Now, look at this query by Dean. If I'll just uncomment this line, and he has done it very good as well. He has find out the maximum invoice date, and then the first name is last name is coming from the customer table, ID is coming from the invoice table, and as the most recent invoice, okay, this is the most recent invoice that he has picked up from customer, and what he has done is joined on the customer ID and grouped them by all the other columns that are not aggregate columns. So what columns are not aggregate columns? Obviously the first name, the last name, the customer ID is not an aggregate column, so he put them here. Everything else he has picked it up. So nice job, Dean. Instead of having to write this complex, well, I'm a complex person, so maybe I just wrote it. Yeah, we are all complex. We wrote it complex way. You have done it really easy. So I hope everybody gets the feel of how we can that. So if we this is the way, this is another way to write it, and if I run this query now, I will get almost the same result he has. How many rows we are seeing? 6. Columns might be shifted here and there, which I don't care, because it's just related to the select what we are selecting. What we wanted to do here is the point of matter. So customer ID, name, most recent invoice, and that's great. So this is the way of thinking of a programmer should be. Not just writing a query. You will not be seeing that many queries. Probably you will see some of those queries when you start, but some of the queries you will start will not be, nobody will be saying that give me all the queries, give me all the customers whose name start with A. Well, that is a very simple query. I wanted to see who's my who has placed the order latest. Now I have the list of all the customers who haven't placed the orders for that many days. I can start follow up and do a marketing email to them or something, some other marketing strategy, so I can find all, because that's my most recent invoice, that's my most recent um, uh, order when I shipped out and have my money in. So if I am not listening to them, I don't care about second and third order, but whenever they were placed, I want to see when they placed last. And if they haven't placed last in the last 3 months, these are the guys. Then I can go back to them and say, hey, can you, or I can ask my sales guy to send out a friendly reminder or something. So this is the real-time scenario that you can encounter. So that is my first thing that I wanted to start today. Okay, next I want to go start a new topic. Let me check out what's the course content is now standing on. So module 5 is completed. Module 5 has no quiz, but I remember module 4 has a quiz. So want you to do the quiz on at the end of this class around 2:15 or 2:30 when we'll close the class. I will leave you with the quiz. You can do the quiz. So around 2:30, depending upon how quickly I finish this topic, but I want you guys to do module 4 quiz. Yeah, module 4 has a quiz at the bottom. So SQL Server has temporary tables as well, which can hold our temporary results as well. Let me see if I can see SQL Server temp tables. This is not available on W3 School. This topic is. So yes, you can store the result of everything in the temp table. So let's say select all from customer, and remember you can dump everything of a table into a temporary table, right? Or in a table, as long as that table exists, as long as that table does not exist. So I'll see hash temp. So if I'll say this is my temporary table and I want to create a temporary table, I don't want this table to last forever. These are the tables that last forever. These ones. This hash temp table is the temporary table which does not last. So if I'll run this query, everything is now dumped into hash temp. So select all from hash table, hash temp. So it recognizes the table. So everything that is in that table is now in the temporary table. But if you click here and refresh it, that hash temp will not appear here. Hash temp is a temporary table that stores, that is created by SQL Server in its memory, and it does not show up in the table. So the thing is, I think this table, this table has to be explicitly deleted, but um, everything is created on. So I'm not sure whether it keeps the primary key or not. I cannot see the schema. I cannot see the schema or any detail about this. There is something in SQL Server that shows me the schema. So I think it was called, there is a procedure to show you the schema. And here you can see the schema anyways. What do I mean by schema is the metadata information, the column types and the keys, right? So I think it is called, just give me a sec. Describe. Let's paste this here. sp_help dbo.customer. So let's say first put up for the customer. This command gives me the schema information that you are seeing here. So I have stopped doing it because I can see the schema information here, but I think I can see it from here by running this exec. And if I run exec sp_help, it gives me all the schema related information for this table. So as you can see, it is almost the same information. So it's very handy on my hand and I can see that. So it's all sorts of other things as well. It is showing me the primary key and the foreign key constraint. All this is an extra information that I can see, whether it's a clustered primary key or whether it's a what kind of primary keys was created and all that information that you can see. When this table was created, so I can see when this table was created, I can right click here, go to properties, and it is showing me the create date. So literally everything that I am able to see, what time it was created, yeah, something like that, yeah, I'm able to see here. So it's available on my right mouse click. Why I have to bother typing this, but I can see that. But my thing is I wanted to see what it happens with this. So it is not a DBA table, it is a hash temp table. So let's see what it prints out. Should be literally the same stuff that customer has because it's actually a copy of it. So it says that this table does not exist and it will not be able to do that here. So the table has to exist on the schema here in the table so I can see the properties. So I cannot see the properties of this table. So it's kind of a blindfold table for me, but at least it's the full dump of full dump of the customer table on the go. So I can close it out. If I go to another tab or something, I can, this table does exist right now. So if I run this on another tab, if I run this on another tab, it is not recognizing this. So it does only exist on the tab that I created it. Not even the other tab is not realizing this table, that it's being created in the memory or not. Invalid object name. I know it exists, but it has not been recognized in one tab to another. And let's say if I close my SQL server altogether from here and reopen it, not even the new tab that I will create will recognize that table because that's a temporary table. So as soon as you close your SQL server, SSMS, it washes everything out. And it is not even competitive enough to move from one tab to another tab. So that's a temporary table. Okay, I think it is created under one place. I think I'm seeing it. If I go to system databases, temporary database, tables, temporary tables, here you go. It is showing up my temporary table there in the tabs. So SQL Server is doing a lot of things in the background which you don't even know with the help of these system databases. It's very important that you don't touch and delete or anything in these four tables because then you are almost be stalling everything again. But I just wanted to show you, yes, the temporary table is created. So if you are in doubt whether this temporary table is created or not, you can check it out here. It is giving it a weird name or something, but as you can see, it has created that temporary table. Can you create a temporary table with this statement? So yes, I can. So if I'll say create a temporary table with the name whatever the hero products is, and if I'll say create, the temporary table is created. Let's refresh this. and you can see Hero product temporary table is created. So it's not just only that I can dump customer into that, but I can also create a temporary table. But keep in mind, temporary tables are temporary tables. They are not there to stay. Once you close out your SQL Server session, it will be lost. So it is used for holding some temporary information if you want to store, and if you're working with the bigger queries or some one query and after another and then third query or fourth query, that way you know how variables have helped you to store the values. Similar to that, um, uh, these temporary tables help you to store the values. Just a little bit of a database administrator thing that I want to create. Let's see if I'm able to create that. So if I go to Kimte database and I want to create another user, so usually when I log in with my Windows authentication. I don't think so I have any other user on my system. How can I check my, there are other users on my system. I think my son is, I have created a login for my son. So let's see if I have him. So I can say control panel. I know he doesn't use SQL Server, but but he does use the system sometimes for games. So I hate Windows 11 because it has messed me around. Manage and just say users. Yeah, users account, because I'm using manage another account. Yeah, yes, you are. Manage another account. So I have created Kashan and I have created my son. So if I will log out from my account and I log in from somebody else, because my login credential is not mixed mode. It is based on Windows authentication. So anybody who logs out and log in with his account and username, they will be able to log in. They will be able to. So right now I'm logged in with my user name, which is user, which is stored on my system. As you can see, I have a user account. I'm the local administrator on this user. These other users are just a local account. They are not administrative user. I can add another user on this computer. But for anybody else to use this database on this computer, they have to log in with their credential. I cannot switch while I'm logged in with this user account named user. I cannot switch my role to my son or me because it's a Windows authentication that I'm using. If I have used this SQL Server authentication, it will be regardless who logged in, as long as I know that username and password, that SQL Server authentication would let me authenticate and get into. So that is the major and only difference between SQL Server and Windows authentication is. Major difference, but very painful difference, because now I cannot log in as another user. So let me see who, if I go into the security, onto the users, database owners, right now it is showing me that who is logged in has the authority on it. So I cannot, can I add another user? I can, but that user should also exist So should also exist in my list of users that are available on this machine. As you can see, it was selected by SQL user with login, but I don't have SQL user at all on this machine. I only created the server with the infrastructure of somebody who has Windows credential. They can log in. So I can only add a window user. And if I'll say user, when I'll select the user, I cannot, I will have to select the username first. So let's say this is my another user on this account. Check name. It picked up my name because I know I told you that I also have a second account and this account as well on my system. So I'm able to add that user to this database. And that is why I think it is looking for another time my name. So what will be my name? So check name is not finding it out. But can I create? I don't think so. It will let me create. And the schema that I want to give him permission to will be, oh, what kind of permission that I want to give him is the database owner permission. Click OK. OK. Let's see. It will not let me do that because I am the user and I cannot change somebody else's permission because I am currently logged in with my account. So if I want to add a user, Kashan, when Kashan will log in with his credential, he will automatically will be logged into SQL Server, but I cannot mess around. So this is a kind of a experimentation that I have to do, that if I need to create a user or something with that. And as you can see, there are so many other things that you can do. You can create roles. You can give a schema access to the users and all that kind of a certificate and security policies that you can define. So that was just a small piece. So, but coming back to the um, temporary table. So this is one type of temporary table. There's another type of temporary table which is more better. It is called, I will Google that as well. And I think this is not available in W3 schools, but to make sure. Yeah, W3 school does not have this information anymore because it is just a little advanced, and they think that you don't need to define that. Okay, table variable, again I'm going to create. So this is called table variable. This can be created on the fly as well on the runtime. I want to create, so the way to declare a table variable is that by you say a declare statement and you name the table name, but that table name is not hash symbol, that table name is @ symbol. Okay. So you say that declare this table with the declare the table name and the table, and then you say that this is the number that you want to give. You can create an auto number or something like that. Then you created a day, what kind of day it is, day abbreviation, and the full day name or something like that. You can name it whatever you want to call it. So this is the column name. You are creating this table on the fly, which is the table variable, and you are storing some information on it, and you want to store some value. So table variable, when the table variable is created, you declared this. Once you declared it, it is created automatically. Now if you want to run this query right now, you must declare the variable. So this has to run in conjunction. So if I'll just say right now, I'll comment these out. So as you see, I commented everything out. So table variable is very picky. A declaration of the table and the running of the table has to happen within the same sequence. So if I run this right now, declare that table, And what's inside that table? Because I commented everything out, nothing will get filled into that table. So if I run this query, nothing. So declaration and running of that query has to happen at the same time or within the same procedure. And I'm using the word procedure because I'm going to take you guys to in the next classes, I'm going to take you to the topic of stored procedures. Uh, and that's where things will start to get a little bit extra advanced or advanced. But if you now say that run this table, nothing is in there. So on the same motion, when you are declaring it, you have to fill up that table as well. So if you now run that, you are inserting the values into the table. You're not writing each query at the time, but you are filling that at once. And then when you run this last query will show you the last result. So run that. It declared the table, inserted all these values that you wanted it inside it, and then at the same time, when you run it, it ran this whole table for you. Can I create a where clause on it? For sure. Anything that you can do with your temp hash temp variable and the normal tables, you can do everything same with the table variable. So where control V, if I want to just show me the Wednesday, I can. It is just showing me the Wednesday. So it's a very powerful table that you created and destroyed at the runtime. And I like these tables because it can temporarily hold your data. You can see some values inside it, and then you can uh, see that information temporarily as well. When solving a bigger query, and I'm taking you to a bigger problems now. So when solving a bigger queries or solving the bigger problems, not just a small finding the latest, finding that, not that. If you are picking up the result from one table and merging it to another table or something like that, you want to see visually, just like putting the stop points. One thing I don't like in SQL Server, and I'm not proficient in, I think, by creating the breakpoints where I wanted to see where I can stop. So these are temporary. These ones are really good for me that I can do that. I can also use something called print message, something like that, and say there's a statement called completed. But when keep in mind, it will not be in the result set area. It will show you in the messaging area. Okay, so you have to keep that in mind. So there's a result set area versus the messages area. So you will see this print message will come in the messages area. As you can see, it is showing you the result in the messages area. So you can show your messages as well, and you'll say, can I show some value from the variable from the column? Yes, I can. So I can just say that join it with this, let's say, while it is doing that, um, but yeah, print, I need to start using the loop or something so I can do that. But I can create for loops, I can create while loops in here, but really anything that you can do with the help of query, and you're filtering the records and keeping the result in the temporary variable, you don't need for loops and while loops in SQL Server as such. So printing messages, print a statement, yes, you can use in SQL as well, and print the message. But usually, um, everything is in the result set area that you wanted to see. So just like you see some messages that 7 rows affected, it is showing you some message, some feedback. you can create your own feedbacks as well. So when I created the hash temp is still in the memory. It is not gone. As long as that hash temp is available, I'm not talked about it for a longer time, so it doesn't mean it has disappeared. It is still sitting in the memory. So let's say but it's not across that, so it is still available on this tab for me, but as because I have cleaned my um, lines, I will need to write it hash temp. So once I do this, hash temp is still alive. Okay, keep in mind when you are using this statement, select all from dbo.customer, and you say into hash temp. You cannot do this again. If this table exists, you cannot do this again. So if I'll do this, it says that hash temp table already exists. So similar to that, if you have a customer, if you have a customer table already exists, so I'll close that out, go to the tables. Similar to that, keep in mind that customer 1 already exists, customer 2 already exists, right? So if I want to write something like this, customer 1, if I'll run this, it says that the customer 1 already exists. Similar to that, you cannot do that. That if hash temp already exists, you are working in this current session, hash temp exists. If I close out my SQL server and come back couple of minutes later, hash temp will be gone, but customer 1 will exist. Customer 1 is a permanent table that we created. Hash temp was the temporary table, so it will disappear from the temp table. But until and unless this session in this tab is open, this uh, this table will still be alive, right? So I can do this by saying drop table hash temp. So the table has to be dropped first in order for it to be recreated. Similar to that, if you want customer 1 to be recreated based on the table data from customer, it has to be dropped first. So if I'll run this query right now, or if I'll just run this, copy and paste this query and put on top of that drop table customer 1, will have the equal effect. So if I run this now, temporary table will be dropped, and in the next line it will be re-added. So now the table has to be dropped, and if we are using this in select all into, every time, remember, whether in any coding language, if you are using the temporary variable over there, referencing back the hash temp over there, you have to drop that table first, then it has to reappear. But most of the time you will be coding in the hash temp in SQL Server environment. That hash temp table will not, you will not be created anyways in the another coding language. You will have to come here to create it. So always make sure that you delete the temporary table. Now let's say if I run it one more time, and any more time it will not, it will keep. So if it exists, it will drop. But if it is, let's say it exists, and if I drop it now, one time is okay. But if the table does not exist now, because if I go to the hash temp db, and if I look for my, refresh this now and go to temporary variable, hash temp is not existent anymore. So if I try to drop a table that does not exist anymore, what I will get? Another error message. You cannot drop a table because it does not exist. That is why I like that whenever you create a table in SQL Server, it gives you two kinds of script: drop to script or drop and create to. You might have seen this several times when I am navigating using this menu. Drop and recreate to, and I like it because I can cheat the code from here. So if I cheat the code from here because I don't want to remember it, I can say that copy this code for me, and I'm going to cheat it. I'm not going to remember it, and I put it here, Control V, and I'm going to change it a little bit, copy, and then I'm gonna paste it here. I hope I'm good. Yeah. And I am hoping I am good here because this is what I want. So essentially, I just cheated this whole statement because I don't want to type it and I don't remember the syntax of it. So if the table exists, and if you are getting some rows from it, whatever, then drop that table. Otherwise, don't drop it, so you will not get any error. So let's do this. And you will not get error anymore because you are running the two statements together. But if I'll just keep running this statement on its own, I will get an error. So this if exist in the schema of the system objects, wherever the object ID is named as #temp, then whatever is happening here, drop that table. So I'm not going to understand fully what is happening, but I understand the gist of it, that it is trying to delete a table and checking the existence of the table. So delete the table if it exists. Similar to that, if in the programming language or in Java, if the uh, file does not exist, it will give you a file not found exception. Similar to that, it has all the right to say that if the table does not exist, why you're trying to delete it. So it is raising an exception. So in order to accommodate that exception, you said that no, if that exists, don't worry, don't try to drop it. But if it exists, please drop it and then recreate it. So I like it to combo it in 3 statements if I am doing that. It will create every time. It will oh, so this has to run first, then this has to run. Wow. Okay, if exist, drop it. That's drop. Then I want to create it. Let me see if I can refresh it first. So temp table exists. I want to drop it, please. Refresh it. It's gone. Then run it. Then it will run. But if it does not exist, if it exists, then drop it. If it does not, so it should run automatically this third line anyways. It was giving me some weird errors. Already exists, so I can go back and refresh. But anyways, so that is the story that I want to explain here, that you need to make sure that if it exists, you drop it, because if you run it second time or third time, it will start to give you an error. Similar to that, you will have to drop the customer one table or any other table. So if you have a table variable, do you have to drop it or not? No, table variable, as soon as you run this whole combination together, because if you run this as a standalone query, it will not work. You have to declare the table variable, add the values in it, and all of these statements should run at once. So you don't need to drop or do anything with this table. So that's the reason I like table variables, because you don't need to worry about dropping it and dumping the data inside it. You just create it on the runtime, you insert the values in it, you get the data, whether you are getting it from the whether you will get it from another table and dump it, and then when you run it, it will run it automatically and get destroyed again. It acts like a variable.